Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Energy Stoners Cafe and Talk with TQ. We're going to continue our conversation with Jason Elias, who has written a book called The Seven Graces of Ageless Aging. And I just love this book because I want to age gracefully and I want to age agelessly if possible. The subtitle is called How to Die Young as Late in Life as Possible. I got to say to you, Jason, I tried to explain this to somebody that English was a different second language, and the subtitle just like freaked him out. He's like, "What? I don't want to die young." So I had to explain to him why that's a joke, and then I'll tell you my joke that I told at yoga today. I had to explain that to him. It's pretty funny. But anyway, but getting back to the point, sorry, getting back to the point. So I want to talk to Jason about steps 6 and 7. Now, one is about moving and being moved, and the other chapter is about the temple of the divine. So take it away. You tell me why it's important to move and be moved, and how does that contribute to ageless aging?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to speak a little about Chinese medicine because that's
Okay, that
what I
sounds
do,
good.
but I'm going to preface it with when Dick Van Dyke was 97 and he's still going, I think he's 100 or
He's
more,
old. He's still around
and he's
dancing.
always dancing. And
Yeah.
someone said, Dick, you're like such a model for so many people. You're 90s, 97 and he said, what's your secret? He said, very simple, 4 letters, move. Don't stop,
Mhm.
keep moving. And he wrote a book called Move, and it's just about it's moving in every way. It's moving your body, moving your mind. Don't get stuck in patterns. So, from a Chinese point of view, all disease is simply that it's dis-ease. It's an interruption in movement. Ease is movement, so everything in Chinese medicine, we have these energy channels that go through our bodies. When that energy is moving, it's like a river or a stream. If the stream is moving, you can get water and drink. It's healthy water, most likely, unless there's a petrol factory up the road.
Mhm.
But generally, if it's moving, it's safe. But you'll never drink from a stagnant pool because that's where disease, breeds. That's where we grow bacteria and funguses and viruses. So the whole concept of Chinese medicine using the acupressure, is to find out where the energy is blocked and open those channels and create movement. So the whole structure of Chinese medicine really is if it's flowing, it will heal itself, homeostasis. And if it's blocked, if it's stuck, how do we rectify that? How do we create movement?
And you're an acupuncturist, if I'm correct, as well as an herbalist.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me what kinds of herbs, what kind of herbs do you take? Because you're pretty youthful. You're very youthful.
Yeah, I mean, I can say very proudly I take no drugs. So, at 77, I've taken things for colds or whatever. But I do herbs, and most of the herbs that I do are tonic herbs. They're herbs that have been shown, to support longevity, to support health, but they're gentle. I'm going to try to make this very short, but one of the most common herbs that we use today is Eleuthero ginseng, is Siberian ginseng. And it was studied back, God, before Russia, when it was the Soviet Union. So they had billions of people everywhere, and half of the armies which were used were taking Siberian ginseng. The other half took a placebo, and they found that the half of the army, which were millions of people, the biggest herbal study ever done, did better. If they went into combat, they would get, resolve from it more quickly. They found it had a profound effect on the adrenal glands. And they found that if the adrenals were overworking, and adrenals are the gland that produces adrenaline, it's cortisol, which is very harmful. So if you're up against combat or you're up against the saber-toothed tiger, you want that adrenaline. But as soon as the the fear object is out, the gland should be able to come back to normal. But very often it doesn't, and it keeps spitting that out. And then eventually it gets exhausted. We call it an exhausted adrenal, which means you can't mount the adrenaline. This herb created balance in both. People who had hyper adrenalized, it calmed it down. People who were like, it built it up, and they found that it worked with the person what they needed, and they created a word called an adaptogen. Now we have tons of herbs that are called adaptogens, but the molecule in the herb that's responsible for that effect was a glycoside, which is a sugar molecule, which is what we always throw out of herbs. When we used to do herbs, we would look for the potent parts of it as medicine. Now we're finding the gentler parts have this incredibly balancing issue. So I take an herbal tonic of adaptogens. I take, astragalus for my immune system. I take, Siberian ginseng, rhodiola, a number of really nourishing herbs.
So that's why you're so calm, cool, and
I don't
collected.
think I'm coming across too calm. I'm
Y-
very, yeah,
No,
but
you
yes,
no,
yeah,
you are very calm. Your energy is very calm. It's not like some other energies I've been around. I'm just gonna say it like that. No, I think
yeah.
that's a beautiful thing. So these herbs, and this is what I'm going to ask you. You're talking about like the the um the adrenaline being secreted. So the herbs that you take would probably be good for someone that, let's say, suffers from anxiety
Mhm.
disorder, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of the herbs. I mean, you can create a formula for people, which I have, like Jason's famous respiratory defense. It used to be called cold and flu. So it
Hmm.
supports the immune system, but it's got bullets.
Uh-huh.
It takes Western medicine into account. So there are herbs like wormwood that attacks worms. That's why it's called wormwood. There's osha root, which is antiviral.
Hmm.
So we can take herbs depending on what we need at the moment that can create a tonic that supports you either fighting an illness or for general well-being.
Hmm.
And use herbs for everything and they have been since cavemen. I mean, their
Yes,
graves are found strewn with the herbs that they used in their life. It's really,
right. I know they used to make, they had this, I guess it was sort of like a parody of some sort, but it was a real scene of a famous boxer that was known for blowing up and getting like really messed up, not like on drugs, but he just would have these anxiety attacks and just go break up the place. And then they had this like thing that needs a little Zoloft, to calm him down. That's what he takes, you know? So, but he didn't really have to do that if he had known you, right? It's Jason. He could be on
yeah,
something natural.
the way I usually phrase that is if you're in the middle of blowing up, get something medical that calms you down.
Oh, okay.
However, to create a space where you don't blow up, that's where, herbs are great for anything chronic. If you have a broken leg or a heart attack, we'll rush to the
Mhm.
hospital, and they're very good for acute, for trauma.
Yes.
But when
Hmm.
it comes to chronic things, which are most conditions that we suffer with,
Yeah.
irritable bowel, Crohn's disease, autoimmune stuff, I just feel herbs are so superior to pharmacologicals
Yeah.
and don't have negative side effects.
And your body seems to like that better.
Your body can integrate, it's food. The
Mhm.
body is used to the food that we eat. Every culture, every tribe had their healers, their medicine men, their medicine women, their midwives, and they would make herbal concoctions for the people, and it wasn't until literally World War II that pharmaceuticals took over, with penicillin. So before that, I mean, even the doctors in this country were naturopaths. They used herbs and they used minerals. Sometimes they used arsenic and other things that were potent. But, you know, it was only when the pharmaceuticals, penicillin, steroids, it's like, holy shit, we're going to cure everything. But in order to do that, they closed down all forms of medicine that didn't embrace pharmacologicals. And then
Right.
the drug companies. So, I'm all for the drugs when they're useful and they're appropriate, but when it's power and it's money, they rule the show and they want to take over the herbs. They want to create a law that herbs should only be prescribed by a doctor. So I'm going to send out forms that everyone's saying, don't let that happen. Herbs are food. They can't harm.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're getting my goat because I do feel this healing and this curing. Western medicine is involved in the male art of curing,
Hmm.
and healing is the feminine art of nourishment.
There's just something different about the two. I was just talking to somebody the other day who was talking about her husband who died of cancer. And she said, I really still wonder, was it the cancer that killed him or the chemo that killed him?
Yeah. You know, I'm all for my wife had breast cancer and she was a Sloan Kettering. And I they knew how to target that particular cancer. I'm all for it. However, I said I want to support her immune system because the oncological drugs don't just kill the cancer, they kill a lot of the good guys. So they said, and I spoke to Sloan Kettering. They actually have sent me some people. They said, "Are you, treating the cancer?" I said, "No, I'm supporting the immune system." Then use the herbs. As long as you're not trying to do what chemo does, which is the attack dog, if
Yeah.
you're nurturing, by all means. So, and it worked for her incredibly.
Thank
She's like 10
God.
years past and she's doing great. But
She looks great.
that was
She
Western
does. She
and
looks
Eastern
young,
medicine.
vibrant.
She's good. She's good.
Yeah. She read your book.
Yeah.
No, I'm being flippant, but I'm being serious at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing is that you do talk in the book in Grace number 7. The title of it, I believe, is um The Temple of the Divine. That's our body is a temple.
It's like a temple. When you pray in a temple, you're praying to a higher being. However, you nurture the temple, you keep it clean out of respect. So, most Eastern forms of healing believe the body is a temporary home. It's not meant to be permanent, but nurture it while you're in it. Give it good food, give it good air, give it love. Uh, I don't know if we have time. I can do this quickly. The Chinese say that to maintain a healthy temple, a healthy body, you need three forms of energy. You need the Wei Qi, which is the immune energy, which is, made in the lung and it helps to ward off, evil influence like viruses, and you got the Gu Qi, which is the energy that we derive from food, so there are ways to support our ability to eat healthy foods and break them down, absorb the nutrients, and efficiently get rid of the waste. So we really have to be careful about what we put into the temple. You want whole foods, that the body recognizes and can digest and can send to those areas that need repair. And, you know,
It seems that Grace number 7 and Grace number 6 work together, most likely in tangent, because I understand that certain types of exercises can actually do things like um, heal, not heal, but treat or soothe or address your adrenals or your lymph nodes. Certain exercises are good for that, I'm told. I
you're
hope I'm
right.
doing them.
And you probably do it through yoga and through all the things you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It depends. To me, I like adding a spiritual dimension to
Mm.
body awareness and support. So you do yoga. I tried yoga. I love it, but Tai Chi for me, I've been studying it for years and years, and it's it's grounding, it's connecting to the energy. So I think something, especially as you get older, I love Tai Chi because you are more balanced and you're less likely to trip and fall. If
Oh,
nothing,
okay.
that's
That's good to know.
huge. Uh, but there are there's Qigong, I mean, there's tons of exercises that are good for lymphatics. That's
Qigong, you started to say.
Qigong is wonderful,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's a whole rabbit hole. There are so many
Yeah. A shout out
forms
to
of,
Darby Melnick and
yeah,
Qigong.
she's great.
She taught me some Qigong and it did help me a lot.
She's amazing. Yeah, and
She
she's
is.
really good at that.
She is very good at that.
Really.
Yeah, she was on the show too one time. I think twice she was on. Yeah. I didn't know you guys knew each other.
We do.
No
We
wonder
do.
I like you both so
Yeah,
much.
and I work with Alan
Oh,
Bandies,
with
who's
Alan
a
Bandes,
very close
yes.
friend of hers, and he's been doing Tai Chi for 45 years.
Right, he's
So,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah,
So we have some people in common here. It's groovy. I like it.
yeah. You know,
Yeah,
and I've
that's the tribe.
created
That's a tribe right there.
it. Yeah, definitely. And I think, when people ask how do I form a tribe if I feel I'm not being nourished, what do you love to do? To go out if you like yoga, tai chi, you meet people, go to talks that are interesting with, for what you love. There are
Hmm.
different ways to connect and to reach out and find kindred spirits. And you can create a tribe, even if you're 80 or 90 years old, you can still nurture a new tribe. But I do
Yeah.
want to plug my new tonic. It's called Ageless. And this is a combination of herbs that I've created. I mean, I've been using them to make individual tonics for people. I have 150 bottles of herb, and I mix them for different people to, support their roots, support their symptoms. But Ageless, I had made for me, and it's really for memory, is for vitality. It has the eleuthero ginseng we spoke about. It's got bacopa, which is the one in most of those formulas for memory. So I find, the people who have been, it's relatively new. It's only a few months old, and I'm getting people really responding to it in a positive.
Really?
Yeah,
It sounds interesting. I might try some of that. Does
it's
it have
good stuff.
ginkgo biloba
Really
in it?
good. It's got bacopa.
Is that
Yeah,
what that's what it's called?
that's the main one for the energy. It's a really nice combination.
Hmm.
It's the synergy in the herbs that I think makes
Yeah.
the difference. People take echinacea, they take gotu-kola, they take whatever. And, in Chinese, that's inferior medicine. It's the
Hmm.
blend that really gives it its
I
potent.
see. So it's very customized.
Yes, but it can be customized for the general public too.
Yeah.
Right. I like doing it individually, but
Can
yeah.
people find out more about herbs on your website?
Oh,
I think you
absolutely.
have
Yeah.
two websites, do you not?
It's one really. The jasonelias.com is my books,
Hmm.
but we have that it's 5elementhealing.net, and we go into so much detail. It's so information full, you know. So it's all about herbs if you want to know what the herbs are, what's good for what. It's very full of information and information about acupuncture and the seasons and the
So
elements.
I'll tell the audience, go to jasonelias.net and then you'll learn everything about Jason and there's a
That's
lot of
my books, and
educational,
5 Element Healing is the big website,
yeah, 5elementhealing.net
.net.
as well. And so you learn a lot about the herbs and the books. I think that some people are going to start becoming like get the Fountain of Youth on your website, you
It's,
know?
if you believe it, it helps. I mean, I think if we do things that support our youth and our vitality, it's got to be helpful.
So what are your plans? Will you be writing more books? What are your plans besides coming back on my show? Will
I
you
I
be
mean
writing more
I
books?
love I mean I have to write. That
Hmm.
became a passion.
Hmm.
So I mean what I'm doing now is I've been an amateur photographer for 45 years,
Well, that's a good long
and
time.
I want to do a book of photographs with inspirational words that take you through the cycles of the seasons and all that, so I'm working on a project that we spend our life doing photography and then you die and no one ever looks at anything you ever did. So at least I'll have a book that my family can see. So that
Yes.
project that's inspiring me now. And then the next one will, I
I
just
think that I
going.
think that's really commendable because a lot of people have talents and they don't put it out there, and then their families forget it. I have a relative, close relative, excellent artist, but he never saved anything for me, you know?
It's such an easy time now and so inexpensive to journal, or if you want to leave something for your kids like a history, publishing isn't what it used to be. It's so easy to self-publish or, so do something that expresses your creativity and that can be passed down or not. The very act of creating it is healing. That's
Yeah, it's true. Just the very act of creating it. That's interesting. I think that speaks to a lot of people who listen to this show are artists. And, sometimes we take it for granted. I never did. I look at pictures I painted and say sometimes like, who did that? It's an amazing thing that something can come from your head down through your body into your hands onto keyboard and it becomes a book. It's magical. Or
you've written a
painting.
book. Yeah, it really is. And it's like the energy needs to be expressed. I think there was, someone said that uh, prayer is speaking to God. Meditation is
Oh.
listening to listening to
Mm.
God. So it's interesting. We need to put things out, but we need to receive.
Yes. So um there was some Stephanie Chick. She wrote a book about the seven B's of something, but there's one that's very important is a B to be still. And if you can actually clear your mind of all thought, that's harder than it sounds.
Yeah, and that's where all these meditation techniques are, to kind
Mm.
of trick your mind into turning off.
Turn it off. Turn
You
off
know,
that
turn off
whatever it
the
is that
machine.
just keeps
We
like,
can get very well.
"Mm."
Let's find the machine that just turns it off and said, okay, now I'll recharge.
Yeah, if I wish it was that simple.
I
It
wish
takes
that,
practice, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah.
It does take practice doing something like that. Can I ask you, this is a loaded question. You don't have to answer it. Do you meditate every day?
I I don't consciously. I mean, my work to me is my meditation. So when I get on, I do healing, I can, it tunes me into the space which I try to confer onto my clients. You know, uh, but I take walks every day that I can. I do my Tai Chi looking over the lake. So for
Mm,
me, that's all forms of meditation. I'm
nice.
blessed to live where I go down and there's a lake path right here. So
That's
I'm
very nice. I know where you live. I just
you
have
do.
yes, and it is
And
beautiful over there. It's a
it's a
great
beautiful,
place to take a walk.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very blessed. So to me, meditation can be a technique where you take the time and breathe or contemplate your navel or say a mantra,
Hmm.
Om Mani Padme Om,
Mm.
whatever it is, but it's that repetition that gets you still. They're all excuses to find that place of stillness. But if you can walk around a lake or just be or dance and get out of your head, that's all
Yeah. Yeah.
meditation.
But I think you say with movement, I was going to mention it's what went in my head, it went out before, but it's back. Dancing, dancing, um, it seems to take your mind somewhere. I don't know what it does, but there's something about dancing.
Yeah. It's moving, it's in your body, but mostly if, I see the guitar and back there, music is part of your being,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, if you can dance and just feel the music and let your body respond, that is meditation. The word is kind of
Yeah.
scary. It's like, oh, if I meditate, I have to take a course and live in a cabin in the woods. No, whatever you do wholly and consciously is meditation. It's not an esoteric thing. But the key is when I'm playing, I lose myself, and then all of a sudden the mind is ready to jump back in. How can I find ways where I can maintain this space, you know, more through the day, where I can tap into it.
And I
Yeah,
guess dancing and playing music or singing, it will raise your vibration. Is that
yeah,
correct?
without a doubt.
Yeah, and that's what you want to do.
Yeah,
Even like sometimes you can be very sad and just put on some music that makes you move and you could get out of that sadness and just be in the moment of the music, preferably without words. I'm just saying sometimes
preferably.
things
Yeah,
without
no, I
me.
feel the words get you in your head.
Yeah,
So
they
I
do.
prefer music that doesn't,
Doesn't
get the
trigger anything.
yeah, to just
Yeah.
feel. But yeah, if you're using it for that purpose, if you're
Hmm.
using it to meditate.
Yeah.
But I
So,
think there's a lot of useful tools that we've talked about.
yeah, and people don't realize that the things are right inside of them, you know? I mean, sometimes it's easier said than done, I'll say, to quiet
It's,
one's mind. I think a lot of times, I think that's why some people drink too much, I imagine,
yeah.
because they have this thing going on in their head that they can't shut off
No,
unless.
absolutely. But the answers are within too. It's like the Wizard of Oz. I
Mhm.
love the analogy. I want brains, I want courage, I want a heart, and
I
you
want to
got
go
the guy
home.
behind the curtain, he said it's all in you, you know,
Yeah.
it's all there. You weren't
Yeah.
lacking any of these
It's
things.
all there all the time for the taking. And the thing is those things you don't have to pay it, they're free. And also, spring is sprung, spring is here.
I love it.
So everybody's attitude should change. I would think no more seasonal affective disorder as an excuse for just being like a weak worm in the dust.
Yeah.
Could start
One
getting
one
out
one word
there.
of one word of caution, because a lot of people I know at the beginning of spring feel anxious and pent up. And the Chinese really spoke about that. It's like when the energy of the earth is pregnant and all those plants underneath the earth are building up pressure so that they can break through the crust. We're feeling what the earth is feeling. So the Chinese are very into the metaphor that what's happening out there is happening in here. So that passes. And once the flowers start to open, so do we. So if you're feeling anxious or a little depressed now, it's not that bad. Feel that's part of nature too, and things are opening.
And then we label it spring fever sometimes,
Yeah.
all of those feelings, even though you don't really have a fever, but there's something. And they also say, I think it's mating season. I can see it outside my window in the
You
morning.
get right.
There's stuff going on out there.
Yeah, life force is really moving.
It is, and things are starting to bud, and it doesn't get old, just like the fall when the leaves change. We're so lucky to be on this planet, and I'm so lucky that you're on the planet, Jason Elias.
Thank you. This is a great, wonderful connection. And I feel like you are sharing your being. And I think that's the gift. That's
I appreciate the fact that you're just so open, and I could ask you anything, even though you're like experiencing like stream of thought. I like the way you address it, and I think that I'm not much different than most people when it comes to that, especially when it comes to something like a subject like aging and health, especially aging. As the population is aging, none of us are getting out of here alive, but we can live a good life while we're here. Yes.
amen.
So on that note, on a positive note, what else? And it is a positive note.
Yeah.
Um, I will say thanks again, Jason. You're like such a great guest. I always feel good after talking to you.
Wonderful.
I always feel really good. And so I'm going to tell the audience, please be happy, and read the Seven Graces of Ageless Aging. You'll be glad you did that. It really is a very joyful kind of a book. It's not too clinical, it's not too woo-woo. I find it earthly and otherworldly all in one book. It's a good book, and you'll feel better after reading it because you can change some habits. So on that note, which is more positive, I will say goodbye to the audience. Thank you, Jason.
My pleasure. It's been great.
Bye-bye.